Hello, everyone, and today is kind of a new thing that I'm doing. I am doing oh, great, now I forgot what it's called. I'm doing a voiceover kind of thing with a slideshow. This is a leopard gecko slideshow, and yeah, so let's start. Is a leopard gecko a reptile? A leopard gecko is a reptile, but a leopard gecko is in the gecko family. Also, it does not have sticky feet. So it is a gecko that does not follow the rules. And since they don't have sticky feet, they cannot climb very well. So you should not give a bunch of stuff to climb on. So what I'm trying to say is leopard geckos aren't arboreal. So what I'm talking about is the toe pads. They have a bunch of tiny hairs that are sticky that can stick to things like a crested gecko has them. And I really like this picture over here of his face. And so what I mean by it does not follow the rules is, so most geckos have sticky toe pads, and most of them doesn't have the bumps that leopard geckos have, like there, you can see. Okay. Food for a leopard gecko. The food is a big thing, but what if you don't know what to feed? Okay, so I'm not going to read the rest since this one's kind of old. And before I knew a whole lot. Okay, why don't I just read it? Well, I will tell you what to feed your gecko. First, and it's also not how you spell first. Crickets. They stink a lot, but they're the best food for a leopard gecko. I should have put more options than just crickets. So you can feed mealworms, waxworms. This is a mealworm here. That's a mealworm. So you can feed mealworms, superworms, but you got to make sure to cut off the mandibles, otherwise it can bite the inside of your leopard gecko. Crickets are the best. As long as you gut load them, which is give them all the food they eat, will be really healthy. The crickets will be healthy, and then when you feed it to your leopard gecko, that means the leopard gecko will be healthy. Waxworms, you should not feed them all the time. They're very fatty for your leopard gecko. So are mealworms. And you can feed dubia roaches too. The full-size dubia roaches are kind of big, so you might not want to feed those, but the babies, that's what I feed to my leopard gecko sometimes. Tank. A leopard gecko will need a 20-gallon or a 20-gallon front opening tank. That's what I have for my leopard gecko in Exoterra. A 20-gallon will scare them, so if you don't want a scared gecko, you might want that. Well, if you have a background, the leopard gecko might try to get between the background. Make sure it has no place for it to fit in. So what I mean is, no, you don't want a scared gecko. That means so when you have a 20-gallon, right, 20-gallon long, and you go to pick it up, right, you have everything in there, and you're reaching your hand down to pick it up, he might think you're a bird or something, and so you don't want that. And a front opening tank is an Exoterra, kind of. Yeah, an Exoterra, that's what I have for my leopard gecko. I'm not sure if it's an actual 20-gallon tank, but it's an Exoterra. And so what I mean by the background part is when I first got my Exoterra, it came with a background. And so there's these little gaps that you can put cords through. They're actually a lot bigger than they should be. And so I made the mistake and didn't fill those gaps in. So he got in between the background and the glass. I was super freaked. I was like, oh my God. Yeah, so that's what I mean. Breeding leopard geckos. If you want to breed a leopard gecko, Make sure you do as much research as you possibly can. Make sure you do not have two males together or they'll fight. I didn't do a whole lot on this slide. And if you keep two leopard geckos together, so like a male and a female, and they're a pair, right? They breed, but only live like 1 to 2 years. And normal leopard gecko lifespan is 10 to 20 years. And so if you have like two males together or two females together in one tank, they will fight. And yeah, it's a very pretty leopard gecko. Calcium. Calcium is a big thing. If you don't have calcium, your leopard gecko will get metabolic bone disease. So you might want to get calcium. Metabolic bone disease is where if you don't have enough calcium, your leopard gecko will get metabolic bone disease. And it's basically when the bones are like rubber, basically. So but like the bones won't form properly and they'll just like wiggle and they'll be walking with their like feet like bent. It's not good. And both of these calciums I used to have, but I don't have anymore because two dogs, both crazy, both eat everything. So they got into that. How to clean a leopard gecko tank. First, I recommend Zoo Med Wipeout 1. That is what I have and I use for my leopard gecko. You have to like wait 5 minutes before you wipe it down. And the tank, I first, how to clean a leopard gecko tank. First, I recommend Zoo Med Wipeout 1. It has worked well in my case. The one thing is do not put the gecko in when it's wet. So like if you sprayed down the tank with the Zoo Med Wipeout 1 and say you didn't wipe it down and you like keep cleaning, right? And then you just put them back in with everything else. Well, it's a chemical first of all, and you could like get it, eat it. Yeah. Make sure you give it a good wipe. So like see here, right? Get the paper towels and wipe it down. And I usually always spray some water on it too, and then wipe that down just to be sure. Heating. So this is a big thing. If you do not have a heat mat, you need one. And one more thing is, if you do not have a thermostat, you need one. Yes. One thing is, if you do not have a thermostat, you need one. I read that twice, sorry. If you live in a cold place, you might want to get a heat lamp. Just make sure it's high enough so you do not burn your gecko. So here is a nano heat lamp. That this isn't one I actually use. Maybe it is, but I have one that I use. I forget what it's called. Here is a thermostat. You place this here in the tank, and then this, you'll set the temperature to it and plug it into the wall, and that will control the temperature so you don't burn your gecko, and those connect to the heat lamp and the heat mat. This is the exact heat mat that I have, the Zoo Med one. All right, that's all of my slides. Don't forget to like and subscribe, turn on notification bell, and goodbye.